They always tell you wind power is clean, renewable, and quiet. They don't tell you it'll paint a bullseye on your back if you live in a place like mine. The day I flipped the switch on my little homemade windmill, I wasn't trying to start a war. I was just trying to keep my workshop lights on without paying a dime to the utility company. I'd spent months drawing up plans, digging holes, checking regulations, making sure everything I built was fully within county code. I even painted it to match the fence. And when those sleek little blades started to spin in the morning breeze, it felt like a personal victory. One of those quiet little wins that nobody notices but means the world to you. But someone noticed. Her name was Beverly Marston. She was the HOA president of Maple Ridge Estates, and if there was a patron saint of petty suburban tyranny, she'd have her face on the statue. I didn't even see her coming that day. Just heard the crunch of shoes on gravel, and then the screech. That monstrosity is ruining the aesthetic integrity of our community. I looked up from my coffee, blinked at her like she was joking, and I laughed. That was my first mistake. Because Beverly doesn't forget a laugh. And she sure as hell doesn't forgive one. By the end of that week, my trash pickup got mysteriously canceled. My mailbox was knocked over in what looked like a drive-by with a crowbar. And I started getting HOA violation notices stacked on my porch like they were pizza flyers, each one signed with that sharp little flourish Beverly liked to use, as if she were a queen signing death warrants. I kept thinking this would die down. I figured, all right, she's making a point, she's puffing her feathers, it'll blow over. But it didn't. Beverly wasn't just enforcing rules, she was enforcing control. And I was about to become her full-time obsession. Now, I didn't move to Maple Ridge expecting paradise. It's a modest cul-de-sac tucked against the back end of a little valley in central Colorado. Lawns are manicured like they've got weekly editions, every house the same beige with different shutters. I picked the edge lot because it backed up to a slope that caught the wind just right. That's the engineer in me retired from aerospace with more curiosity than I knew what to do with, and I couldn't just sit around watching reruns and tinkering with birdhouses. So I built a windmill. 15 feet tall, ultra-quiet, smooth as glass. I made it blend with the fence, tucked it behind my garden shed. It powered my tools, my coffee pot, even kept the fridge running out in the garage. It was a beautiful little machine. And for 3 days, I lived in peace. Then came the barbecue. Beverly was there, in her usual pearls and twin set, standing like a sentry next to the coleslaw. I caught her whispering to Dale, the HOA treasurer, pointing at my backyard with a look that could curdle milk. I figured maybe she was just nosy. Nosy would have been a blessing. The next morning, there was a letter stuffed in my doorframe like a warning from the mob. HOA violation notice, unauthorized aerial apparatus obstructing community visual tranquility. I didn't know whether to laugh or check if I'd accidentally built a radar tower. I called the number on the letter, and who else picks up but Beverly herself? No hello. Just, have you dismantled the turbine yet? I told her calm as can bet had it was within county code, that I had the permit right in front of me. She said permits were irrelevant in planned neighborhoods. That municipal nonsense didn't override HOA standards. I asked if she even knew how electricity worked. That's when she hung up. And that, right there, was when the real fight started. The next few days were a circus. I wonder who called the garbage company and canceled my pickup. My replacement mailbox got flattened the day after I installed it. And flyers started showing up, wind freaks not welcome. Signed by the Preservation Committee, which I later learned consisted solely of Beverly and her poodle, Clarence. Still, I didn't bite. I replaced the mailbox, rerouted my trash service, installed security cameras. I wasn't about to fight a neighbor with rage, I was going to fight her with facts. I called my old college buddy, George, who's now a zoning lawyer. George owed me a few favors from our dorm days, and I cashed them all in. He did some digging and found something even I hadn't realized. State green energy laws superseded HOA bylaws. Not only was my windmill legal, but Beverly's campaign against it might actually be breaking a clean energy protection clause. If she took this to court, she might be writing me a check instead. But I didn't want a check. I wanted something bigger. Something I'd been toying with for years. A solar tower. 38 feet of sleek black panels mounted on a rotating shaft, tracking the sun from morning to dusk. Legal? Just barely. Intimidating? That was the point. If Beverly thought a windmill was an eyesore, wait till she saw the tower of power. The digging started discreetly. Just me and a couple of high schoolers from 2 doors down, kids who wanted volunteer hours and were curious about solar energy. I paid them in pizza and let them use the cement mixer. Meanwhile, Beverly started losing her mind. She began patrolling the street like she was leading the suburban patrol brigade. She started snapping photos of my yard, shouting legal threats from her porch, and hosting what she called emergency aesthetic preservation sessions in her living room. No one attended, except Dale and a very confused schnauzer. Every morning, a new violation notice was taped somewhere. My garage, my dog's collar, my grill. Alleged crimes included excessive solar ambition, unregulated glare reflection, and, I kid you not, unauthorized panel posturing. George framed them for me. By now, the neighbors were picking sides. Some cheered me, and an lady brought lemonade while we poured the foundation. Others grumbled in whispers, scared of Beverly's wrath. But momentum was shifting. A man 3 streets over left a note that read, "Build it. I'm tired of Beverly threatening to repaint my mailbox." Even the mailman gave me a thumbs up one day. That's when I knew I wasn't just fighting for a windmill anymore. I was fighting for common sense. Then Beverly made her fatal move. She sent out an HOA-wide email calling me a rogue energy agent and attached a photo of my tower photoshopped with lightning bolts and an eagle crying in the background. It was absurd. It was also hilarious. And when the local news picked up the story, it became viral. They interviewed her first standing by her petunias, clutching the HOA manual like a Bible. Then they interviewed me, standing under the shadow of the rising tower, holding up my power bill, $0. The backlash hit Beverly fast. People started showing up at my place not to protest, but to ask questions. One guy wanted help wiring panels to his shed. A lady from the gardening club asked if she could plant sunflowers around the base. Kids started bringing their science projects over. The tower wasn't just generating electricity, it was generating community. And that's what Beverly couldn't stand. So she tried one last dirty trick. Hired a fake inspection company to show up unannounced. Claimed the tower was unstable. They showed up with clipboards and no ID, started taking pictures of my license plate. That was the final straw. I handed it all to George: footage, emails, witness statements, and he filed formal complaints with the county and the State Energy Board. 1 week later, Beverly got her own official notice: cease and desist, pending investigation, potential civil penalties. The HOA board was warned that further interference could revoke their authority altogether. Beverly lost her mind. She stood at the end of my driveway for 2 hours with a sign that said "Solar Tyranny ends now." Alone. And that would have been the end of it, but I had one more move. I threw a party. A full-blown, solar-powered barbecue bash. Bounce house, solar grill, LED lights, even a bubble machine. I invited the entire neighborhood. No speeches. No drama. Just an invite that said, "Come enjoy the sun." They came. They danced. They asked questions. They charged their phones at solar ports. And just after sunset, the tower lit up with a light display. I'd programmed a message spelled out in soft amber across the panels. "Welcome change." The crowd went quiet for a moment. Then someone clapped. Then more. And just like that, the war ended. Not with a bang, but with a barbecue. Beverly resigned a week later, citing stress-related health concerns. The HOA elected a new president, Jackie, a retired firefighter who once told me, "I like what you did. Let's make the bylaws less stupid." And just like that, things started changing. People added panels to their roofs. Someone else built a micro-wind turbine. The HOA newsletter started including green tips. And my house, me tower house, as the kids call it, became the heart of the block. And Beverly? I saw her once at the grocery store, lurking behind a display of organic kale. We locked eyes. She looked away. I didn't feel hate or pride, just peace. Sometimes, standing up for what's right doesn't feel like a revolution. It feels like one guy wiring his shed in silence, refusing to be bullied by a rulebook with a pearl necklace. And sometimes that's enough. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back? Was the tower too much? Or was it exactly what the neighborhood needed? Leave a comment, share your story, and let me know what would you have done if the sun itself became controversial in your town?